Hello, you guys. Hello. This, Luke, this is different than any other video I've ever done because I am purely a vlogger, but I've been, bro, stop. I shouldn't let myself get distracted. But I've been pondering about making, video essays or just talking about certain things and making it its own video, And I did not vlog this week at all, really. So, go lay down. You're literally rage baiting me. So, I was like, what better time to do a little freaking video essay, I guess. Oh my god, there's the most beautiful sparrow that just landed on my fence and now he's gone. But oh my god, what a great sign. Anyways, let's get back on track. I want to talk about today, I want to make the thesis video for Love for Haters and really just walk you guys through my process and how I have learned to balance love and hate within my life. And hopefully you guys can take some of my experiences and insights and things I've learned and apply it back to your own life in this really challenging and bleak time, for real. So I would like to start out with hate because I feel like that is the more commonly expressed thing currently. And first of all, what am I even really talking about when I say the word hate? So for one, we know that it's the opposite of love. Two, I think it is kind of an umbrella term for many feelings. And those feelings, jealousy, judgment, disgust. Oof. I like how that came right after disgust. But yeah, so just kind of a lot of negative emotions, criticism, that could be another form of hate. Anyways, though, I want to talk about really, hate when it comes to my relationship with myself, because I feel like that's where I have the most experience and expertise and development, I guess. So let's get a little background on me, essentially. I am autistic. And this caused me, within my very early formative childhood years, to kind of believe that everything I did or said was wrong somehow, but no one really ever told me how. And it was kind of just like I was being berated for being, honest. What else? A lot of people did not like how social I was with them, which was fair. I have the opposite, how do I say it? Social spectrum when it comes to autism, where I was actually really social with kids and I would get up in their face and not know boundaries, and then they would be like, get the fuck out of here. You're so weird. And yeah, so I definitely learned that from my father too, because he is a little liar. He's a little liar. Well, I guess I should say he's a big liar, because that's his favorite hobby. And my favorite hobby is honesty. So him and I like this. And when you're punished for speaking the truth, it kind of distorts things in your head a little bit, I guess. But yeah, I guess what I've learned from growing up as an autistic person in the United States is that every system I've been in has failed me in a lot of ways. I was also someone who was on government health care growing up, and a lot of the times the discrimination I experienced at hospitals was very not good. It was very not good. And so yeah, I don't really have much faith in like the public school system or, you know, the healthcare system, because I think that they're actually kind of, well, no, yeah, they want us to be as sick and sad and as miserable as possible. Anyways, though, I'll get to that later. Let's keep moving through, I guess, my most formative experience when it comes to hate. And it was at my first job. So, oh, wait though. I have one more thing that I wanted to say about growing up as an autistic kid. I learned after a little while. I would probably say around like 11 is when I was like, I could really pin down what people didn't like about me, what offended them, you know, all of this stuff. But yeah, it took years of just like observation and studying people. It was really hard. But then essentially, you know, I did what most autistic women do. And I masked and I chameleoned. And I was able to find some acceptance, somewhat. So I had that perspective for a while, and I think during COVID, it definitely dissolved, and I was able to really, you know, delve into my interests. And it was a bad time because, you know, it was COVID, but it was a good time in the sense that I felt like myself, I guess. I don't know. And I really, really loved the series Bungo Stray Dogs, the anime. And I specifically connected with Osamu Dazai's work a lot. Specifically No Longer a Human. Because I think due to just, you know, like never fitting in systems and kind of, you know, being ostracized. And when I say being ostracized, kind of what I mean is that the girls would ignore me on the playground, which, bro, boo-hoo. And then some of the guys in like my elementary school would just kind of beat the crap out of me a lot of the times. So, and it was never fair. Like, why was it always like a 2 or 3v1? This isn't fair. The one time it was a 1v1, I beat his ass. Okay, this is not relevant. This is not relevant. Anyways, though. So yeah, due to that ostracization, I just kind of struggled even feeling like a person and having really human experiences. I was like, what does that even mean? So weird. Anyways, though, I digress. So, I get my first job kind of right around when people were coming out of COVID times, and things are chill for a little while, but then the summer of my first year, I started chameleoning again, and it was due to one of my leads' constant homophobic, transphobic, and fatphobic jokes. And I was exploring my gender identity at the time too, honestly. And I went back to Emma, like I went back to my old name. And I don't regret that choice now, because I think, you know, I was just exploring myself, but I actually am very satisfied and happy with being a woman. So that's just mine. But I started chameleoning, especially being gay, which is probably something that has been really hard for me to accept my entire life. But literally, also at 15, Pukas, stop this. I kind of had to have a come to God moment because I was raised as Christian as well. And I was like, you know what, God, even if I go to hell, I don't really want to stop believing in you. Like, I just feel like there's so many miraculous miracles that have happened in my life. Also, you know, being a child who grew up in poverty, had an abusive parents were divorced, all this stuff, statistically, I should not have made it here. But I did somehow. And I do believe that that is God. And so, yeah, when I had that kind of come to God moment, I was like, you know what? This is how I justify being a gay Christian. Because do I really think God's going to send me to hell if I spend, like, my whole faithful life, what's the word? Being faithful to him? I really don't know. I actually really don't know. And none of us know. So I just was kind of like, you know, I'm going to do what I want. And I wasn't even, like, I was not very deep into, like, the religion at the time, you know, so, but I've never lost my belief in God, if that makes sense. Anyways, though, so, just had to tell Pukas to stop, because he's ruining the video. Come here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good boy. Just lay down. Just lay down. Just chill. I'll play with you in just a second. Just a second. Anyways. So, I had literally already accepted it, but kind of during COVID times, right? When I really wasn't around systems or social circles or people, really. And then when I emerged and I was around people who weren't as accepting of gay identities, I went back. I went back and I was like, oh, let me just pick a random guy and then I'll decide that I have a crush on him. And then it would never work out because eventually I would get disgusted with the guys because I didn't like guys at the time. And that's okay. But so yeah, I was chameleoning. And then December 2023 happened. And it was kind of a bad combo, I guess, because we hired a man who immediately just started touching all of the female team members in ways that made us uncomfortable. You know, some people can call it friendly. I don't really want to lament on that specifically. But all that matters is that I felt uncomfortable and I didn't deserve to feel that way. So I got lost in grief with my childhood dog, Charlie, and I started resenting the world around me and just people around me because I was realizing how much I was performing for everyone and how much everyone's well-beings and feelings came before my own. And I also just really took such a deep look at all of the impurities of the world. And I was like, how do I even cope with this? And I didn't cope well. Eventually, the chameleoning fell apart on me because I did a thing that my coworkers had influenced me to do. Confirmation burp. I don't even know. And that thing didn't end very well for me. And it kind of, honestly, I don't have any better way to describe it besides showing you guys a picture of what I looked like in 2024 and being like, it turned me into this. It turned me into this. And I felt like a completely different person. I felt like I died, really. Like, I was alive, but it was very, I guess, well, no, I definitely was suicidal. And I was suicidal because I didn't believe that there was a way for me to be happy in this world as a queer woman. And that was due to my environment, though. Due to my autism, I could not see something outside of my own environment, you know? I had a very limited view of things, I guess. And yeah, so eventually things fell apart with those coworkers. They ended up getting fired for different reasons. And then the conflict with the guy ended up lasting, well, in 2024, I think about 8 more months. And definitely don't want to get into that, but you know, once again, I was trying this method of trying to control what people were doing because I wanted his behavior to stop, and it wasn't working. And I blamed myself. And I felt like I should have protected all of the people who were there, but I loved my manager so much that I didn't want to upset her by talking about the issue more, because she told me to never speak of it again. So I did. Until we finally reached a breaking point because multiple other women were uncomfortable. And we finally sat down for a conversation after 8 months, 2 days before Christmas. And that was what I was trying to do the entire time, you know, but stuff takes a long time. So in this conversation, he apologizes to me, and he apologizes for not listening to me as a lead, because that was also a very big problem. And I forgave him, and we agreed to work together as leads, I guess. And I'm about to transition into love, guys. But before I say that, I'm like, what more can I say about what I learned? Well, I just want to emphasize that through this entire period, I was probably the most insecure I'd ever been in my life, which I think is also why I kind of went about things the way I did, you know? And I did so much. I did so much for that place, and I still believed that I was not doing enough and that I was replaceable. And it was because that's what I was told. So the question is, how did I leave this hate for myself behind? How did I grow from that? And honestly, the thing that started it for me was tarot cards. And I know you're like, what? How? Because those little books said things more positive than I was being told in like years. Yeah. And I remember in 2024, I held on so strongly to just people's words. And even though I was being so consumed by hate for myself and the world around me and for my situation and for my life, honestly, I just kept holding on to the smallest kindnesses that people were showing me. And it got me through. And then in early 2025, I had a catalyst in the form of a person. And our brief experience together, excuse me, it taught me that I needed to change, because I was living in so much fear, and I was being so just swayed by the people around me. There was nothing that I was choosing that was really for me. And after this point, after becoming a husk of a person in 2024, I was like, well, who are you even? So I did the most important thing, and I chose to change. And yeah, so I changed, and I forgave that guy, and him and I worked together like well for 6 months. And during that time too, I just poured into myself, truly, and poured into deconstructing these limiting beliefs that I had, that I don't even know, like, I couldn't even be doing this, or I couldn't be doing other kinds of, like, I don't know, like on stage entertainment, if that makes sense, because that's kind of the field that I was working in. I always just kind of was like, no, like, you're kind of meant to be behind the scenes, essentially, you know? Or, yeah. And one thing that I love to mention is how God really put his hands on my schooling, because I was trying to be an electrician, guys. I'll be so for real, because I didn't believe in myself. I was like, go where it's safe, go where you're gonna make money. But I had enrolled at one college as a high school student, and they were like not accepting my diploma because I graduated from a charter school, and they're like, this is AI, this is fake. Just kidding. That's not what they actually said, but they just weren't accepting it. And then I got the suggestion from a coworker in a different department to go and do business classes at a different school. And he said, he was like, you're really on it with the entertainment stuff, but you just need to learn more of the back end, you know, like what goes on. And I was like, okay. And the enrollment, super easy, literally got in immediately. And 3 days later, the other school had lifted the hold on my diploma. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I wasn't meant to go there. I'm not meant to be an electrician, guys. So yeah, I really just I'm like, I don't even know, because that's the whole thing. I've had no idea what I'm doing this entire time, but I've just been following breadcrumbs that God has been giving me and trusting him to develop the full picture for me. Anyways, though, so I chose love. I chose to love myself. I chose to forgive myself for my failures in 2024. And I chose to forgive this guy for the things that he did to me too. And it was all great and dandy until I got my best friend hired. My best friend of 5 years hired at the same place. And it was a different problem this time. My friend had an issue with his sense of humor. So she kind of would tell me everything that would happen when I wasn't there. And then I reported it to my manager twice, and I was swiftly fired for gossiping about him. And my best friend chose to stay there and keep working because it was a really fun job. And yeah, I really did not expect that one. I really did not expect that one. But I had to learn the hard thing about loving yourself is that, how do I say it? Well, I guess I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because I remember the feeling that I felt when I sent the text that got me fired. I felt so right about it. I was like, I'm meant to speak up about this. I'm meant to speak up about this. And then I got fired, and I just kept reading my freaking cope tattoo, my freaking release control tattoo. And I was like, this is happening for a reason. But honestly, guys, that was a really challenging time after that for me. I literally got mauled by a dog exactly a month later, but I protected Pookie and Kiki, so it was okay. But essentially, God kind of showed me that I was sacrificing too much of myself for, that place. And then with my friend, I just realized that I'm like, what do I even say? I think her choosing to stay after her being the one who gave me the information that got me fired just really changed something within me. And after, observing me at work, she said something that was meant to be a compliment, but it really solidified how she saw me. And she literally said, like, she was like, yeah, I didn't really know, I guess, like, how capable you were, but after seeing you at work, I realized that you're just so much better behind the scenes. And yeah, so that plus more made me just release the friendship, which was really difficult. But in that time, it was the first time that I chose to not forgive people, honestly. I chose to keep hate in my heart because I knew that if I continued to suppress it and not feel it fully, that it was going to fester like a weed. And I was just going to be like this gross, hateful weed again. So I dove into it and I let myself feel it for as long as I needed to, while trying to slowly rebuild what I could, and just working for like friends and family and my Kung Fu studio, and just trying to cope, really. Anyways, though, I did, if you guys are curious, I did file a charge of discrimination, and I did mediate it in a confidential manner. So I feel like that's also kind of why the timing of this is significant, because I could not have spoken to you guys about half of these things because I hadn't truly learned it until just recently, kind of. So yeah, I'd like to talk about how I personally balance love and hate in my own life. And the biggest thing that I've taken away is that we need to continue to love our siblings and hate the system. Now. Let me make some points. I think the clearest, easiest example to make is AI. I don't hate generative AI. I hate the owners of generative AI companies, because they're the ones who are making us humans into products, into data products for them to buy. They are the ones who built their companies off of dishonesty, theft, and piracy. The AI didn't do that. The AI is a tool. The AI is a tool. Like, oh my God. So, yeah. And when it comes to the people who've hurt me and the mountains of people that I had to lose in 2024 and 2025, I choose to see the good in them. And this is a good time to talk about forgiveness versus acceptance, because I learned this kind of recently. And yeah, so I mean, we all know what forgiveness is. It's kind of just, at least what I think of it as, is just accepting that you did the best with what you could and what you knew at the time, and just letting your mistakes go and knowing that you're going to try to be better, you know? And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm just working on with the people who have hurt me. I'm just trying my best to understand, you know, their individual situations, their pain, their ignorance, and just leave it at that, you know? But I will never accept any of those people into my life ever again, because I don't deserve that. I deserve people who the storage demons got to me, chat. But I did it. I cleared some things out. So here I am, ready to wrap up the video, because, well, let's talk a little bit more about forgiveness and like finding the joy within things. Well, it's actually really fucking hard. I literally, it took me so long to be like, I have to forgive these people so that I can leave the situation behind. And yeah, honestly, just the general thing I've learned from every system that I've existed in, every system that I've gone through, you know, is that they claim they want to help you, but they only help every person like that much, besides, you know, the people that they're actually serving. When it comes to like hating people on an individual level, or comparison, or jealousy, all these things, I just don't project that onto people anymore, you know? I know that it's coming from me. And I don't know if that's really a great thing to really say, you know, being like, it's okay to have hate in your heart. But I think so. There's no way to have love in our hearts all of the time in the world that we're existing in, because there are people that are so much more powerful than us all that are propagating hate for all of us. And so yeah, I guess I consider my hate towards the top, I consider it righteous in a way, because yeah. But the thesis of love for haters itself, the name, is that actually on an individual level, all I really have for haters is love, because I understand you better than you expect. really, because I've been there too. And I think all I needed in that time was just a little bit of love. Also, I think that's another important thing, actually, to mention about love and hate and the balance of it. I think it's more important to talk about when we're feeling hate, you know, with ourselves. I mean, look at me right now. Look at me right now. But, yeah, I think that's more important, because if you keep it within your heart and you don't process it and don't express it in any kind of way, you are going to put that hate onto another person who may not deserve it. Because at the end of the day, we all are the biggest mirrors, the biggest freaking projectors, the biggest freaking triggers for each other. And yeah, I just think it's really important to recognize that. And when someone or something is upsetting you, really look at yourself and be like, but why is this upsetting me? And a lot of the times, there's a lot of good times where it's like, well, because that's blatant injustice and that's fucked. But there's other times where it's like, this is a me issue. Anyways, though, that's just my perspective, my experience, and I expect that I will develop it even more, since I am just a wee 20-year-old lad, you know, and there's more that I need to learn. But I wanted to come on here and just share, yeah, how I really changed and chose love. And it is a daily choice. I really want to emphasize that to you, because I feel like the worst thing that, like, self-help or other kinds of, you know, just wellness influencers, people, whatever you want to call it, have prescribed. They've prescribed it like it's easy. No, because if it were easy, everyone would be doing it and everyone would be coming from a place of love. But obviously, we are imbalanced in the world right now, and we need more people to make the hard choice to come from a place of love more often than not. And specifically, the ways that I did this, the ways that I changed was I changed my language towards myself and others, which meant changing my thought patterns too, which also meant going back and reprocessing events and experiences that happened to me in so many different ways. So yeah, this all really requires a lot of thinking and a lot of introspection. And the most important thing of all is knowing yourself and trusting yourself to make the right decisions for you. Because I think the biggest thing that the most powerful people want from us is for us to stop trusting ourselves. Because when we stop trusting ourselves, we can rely on things like AI, or who knows what they're going to come out with. But yeah. Anyways, I hope I can crack my back. That wasn't even that good. Well, anyways, I was going to say, I hope something in there resonated with all of you out there who watch. And if you feel called to, I would love to hear your experience when it comes to love and hate in the comments, how you kind of have balanced it in your own lives, because I want to make a community, and that is genuinely my goal, guys. Like, I am going to school. Well, before I got fired, I thought I was going to be doing something in entertainment, you know, but after I got fired, I just kind of changed, and that's okay. And I let a seed grow, and that seed is a little baby now. It's like a newborn baby, and I want to show it to you guys. I want to show you my baby, and hopefully some of you along the way, maybe we want to help and support the development of this baby, aka the business, aka Love for Haters, Place for Misfits. Yeah, I want to open a community center for specifically teenagers. And then later I want to turn it into a career service for them after just learning everyone's experiences. I am desperate for that knowledge. I'm definitely in a knowledge acquiring period. But yeah, just at my previous job, you know, that hired a bunch of teenagers, I just watched all of us continuously be failed by the systems that were supposed to help us. We're supposed to do something, but we weren't. So I'd like to change that, and I'd like to push the needle however much I can and give the youths the tools that I wish I had. So yeah, but I'm a little while away from actualizing that in the physical. So for now, I just have my online space of Love for Haters, and I'm very grateful for each and every person who watches my videos. Like I've said many times, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm just trusting God to put me where I'm meant to be, trying to come from a space of love and joy as much as I can. And thank you for watching. There will definitely be a vlog next week, regularly scheduled programming. And I feel like I'm forgetting to say something, but I really cannot remember. I was gonna say, showing up in love and with authenticity. Yes. I think also vlogging has been truly one of the most radical forms of self-acceptance for me. And yeah, I think everyone should really just find their own way to do that, because I'm odd, I'm weird, and I've accepted that I'm not going to be on the normal life path, whatever, you know, that may be. And if you're someone like me who wanted it for so long and wanted the community and the validation that conformity offers you, fight it, my friend. Fight it. Because on the other side of truly being yourself, you will find so much better community. And like for me specifically, you know, I mean, I work for my Kung Fu studio, you know, so I'm an office manager and then a Kung Fu instructor as well. And just the way that I interact with my community and the children that I teach, it is so much more fulfilling than my first job ever was. And I just could have never expected things to turn out this beautifully. And I do have to shout out my math friends and my rock climbing friends as well, because they have also been very beautiful and supportive people for me, which I didn't know if I was going to find that. I didn't know if it was going to stay either, because I had a lot of good connections that, you know, were more learning experiences, and that's okay too. That's okay too. And I hope those people are doing good. I hope that they're having better days too, because I sure am. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.